Anjana-shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Tale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya च Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome back to the Friday and Saturday series on the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana Swami, Sanatana Shiksha. So we have up till now covered what are the questions of Sanatana Goswami to Mahaprabhu? Kiyami Kita Patroy. Who am I? And why am I suffering these threefold miseries? And what is Sadhya and Sadhana? And we took a detour with the Dashamula Tattva. We went into what exactly is the Dashamula Tattva from the Bhakti Aloka article of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And we discussed what are these Dashamula Tattvas. And because there is Sambandha Bidaya Prayojan, we went into the concept of Sambandha Bidaya Prayojan also. And some points which Bhaktivinoda Thakur is mentioning in Bhakti Aloka about each of the Dashamula Tattvas principles, which he has presented in his article, we saw 8. We have till now seen 8 Dashamula Tattvas, 7 Pramaya, 1 Praman, total 8. And this is where we have stopped now in the last class. So then today I have shared all the PPTs with you, and I hope devotees are prepared to answer today whatever we have discussed in the Dashamula Tattva, because you will have to answer. So I'll just recap once again. We have started with the Dashamula Tattva, that Shabd Praman is the highest. And then Lord Hari is the only worshipable Lord. This is the second. This is the Pramaya, derived from the Praman, derived from the Vedas. The third is is Sarva Shaktiman. He is having full of inconceivable potencies, and he is Rasabdim. He is full of spiritual rasas. And Jiva, the Jivas are Bhinnamsha. They are parts of Krishna and they are unnumerable. There are the Baddha Jivas and the Nitya Jivas. Nitya Baddhas accept Maya and they suffer in this world. And then there are the Nitya Jivas. So, 7 Dashamula Tattvas we have discussed. Only the 8th one we have not discussed in the last class. Today I will discuss this 8th Dashamula Tattva. And then we will go back to Sanatana Shiksha. And now you will be doing a comparative study of where in Mahaprabhu's answers these Dashamula Tattva are there. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is presenting it in a very philosophical and a logical chronological order. Whereas in the Mahaprabhu's teaching, it is not in chronological order. So, maybe the 8th or the 5th Dashamula Tattva is first presented like that. But sequentially, philosophically, and logically, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has presented it. So, studying like that and then going through Mahaprabhu's teachings will make things clear. So, today we will discuss now in this class the 8th Dashamula Tattva, the 7th Pramaya, and then we will go to Sanatana Shiksha back. Okay, let us go to the 8th Pramaya now. 8th Pramaya is Krishna and the other things are connected by the relationship of Achinta Bheda Bhed. Bheda Bheda Prakasham Sakalam Ape Hare. If you remember in that composition of Bhaktivinoda Thakur about the Dashamula Tattva. Amnaya Praha Tattvam Hari Hi Paramam Sarva Shaktiman Rasabdim Tad Bhinnamscha Cha Jivan Prakriti Kavalitan Tad Vimuktamscha Bhavad Bheda Bheda Prakasham Sakalam Api Hari. So this is what we are now, 8th one we are studying. The 9th one is the Abhidhaya, Sadhanayam, Shuddha Bhakti, and the 10th is Sadhya, is what? Preeti. And this was taught by Gaur Chandra, Swayam, personally. So we are Bhaktivinoda Thakur's 8th Dashamula Tattva we are going to study now. I hope it's clear where, this is where we have stopped last time. The conclusion of Amnaya regarding the 7th reality is this. 7th reality means 7th Pramaya. The first is Praman, total 10, total 8. Lord Krishna and all other things are connected by a relationship of Achinta Bheda Bhed. Inconceivably, simultaneously one and different. Achinta, Bheda and Abhed. And the word together, when it is joined, it becomes Bheda Bhed. But there are two words, Bhed and Abhed. And in Sanskrit, you can join two words. Just like in English, hasn't or should not, you can join together. English has very lot of limitations, but Sanskrit, through the process of Sandhi, you can join them. So Bheda and Abheda together join and become Bheda Bheda. Simultaneous, one and different. And this is what? Achintya. There's inconceivable simultaneous oneness and inconceivable, there is simultaneous difference between Lord Krishna and the Jivas and this universe also. And everything is related to Krishna in this concept. Now, please hear carefully what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving some of the points in Bhaktaloka. That is why the Vedas have many statements supporting oneness and many supporting difference. So, in the Vedas, especially in the Upanishads, you'll find statements which support oneness. And there are some statements which show the difference also. So there are both statements in the Vedas. In the conclusions of those ignorant of truth, only a portion of the Vedas are accepted. So this is what Shankaracharya did. Whichever statements support oneness, he took only those and claimed his philosophy that we are one with God and we are God. So there are other statements which show difference. So that he said it is, secondary statements. The Mukhya Vakya, there is the Mukhya, Mahavakya, these, five, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. So the ignorant, they only take a certain portions of the Vedas and they accept that. In the conclusions of the knowers of truth, the purport of all the Vedas is accepted. So we have to take all the purpose of the Vedas and then come to a conclusion, Siddhanta. So there are statements which emphasize on Abheda. There are statements which emphasize on Bheda. So then we can conclude by Siddhanta, there is Achintya, Bhed as well as Abhed. But if you conclude, no, there is Abhed, that is Advaitavad, one extreme. And the other extreme, anyone knows what is the other extreme of this? The one extreme is there is Abheda, which is the Advaitavad philosophy. So what is the other extreme of this? Anyone knows? Which is the other extreme? And which philosophy it is called? Everything, it's one. That is Advaita, no Dvaita. And yes, Makarand Bakshi Prabhuji has raised his hand. Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, it is called Dvaitavad.
Dvaitavad. So Dvaitavad was propagated by whom?
Madhvacharya ji.
Madhvacharya. So what is there? There is complete difference between the Lord and the
devotee.
Lord of the Jivas. So complete difference. There is no difference, complete difference. Two extremes. And the balance is the Mahaprabhu's philosophy in between. That is Achintya Vedabhed. So that is the actual philosophy. The Achintya Vedabhed philosophy is the actual philosophy which is propagated or propounded in the Vedas. And Mahaprabhu taught that. Those who have thirst for worshipping the Lord learn from the teachings of the Amna that Lord Krishna is all pervading and is one without a second. Sri Krishna is the absolute truth. That absolute truth possesses all energies. He is having unlimited energies. Although the living entities and the material world are manifested by his energies, still he remains without a second. The ingredients are constitutionally non-different from Krishna. They are non-different, the ingredients, that is a material nature, which is composed of the 24 million. But in the material creation, everything other than Krishna is the transformation of his energy and therefore eternally separate from him. There is Shakti and there is Shaktiman. So the Shaktiman possesses Shaktis and it is his Shaktis which undergo transformation. But the Shaktiman doesn't undergo any transformation. He remains as it is. And that is why that Ishopanishads, Om Purnamada Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnameva Avashishyate. So Om Purnamada, that absolute truth is complete. Purnamidam, this material world is also complete. Purnas Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. From that complete, these complete units are manifested. Purnasya Purnamadaya. Although from that complete unit, so many complete units come out, still that absolute truth remains complete. So that is, a very, enigmatic verse, you can say. This eternal oneness and difference is naturally inconceivable because it is beyond the range of the living entity's material intelligence. So we have to accept that, we cannot understand this oneness and difference with our material intelligence. When the living entity's spiritual intelligence is awakened, pure knowledge of the inconceivable oneness and difference is aroused. So only when the spiritual intelligence is awakened, then we can realize this simultaneous oneness and difference. Keeping firm faith in the statements of the Amnaya, by the mercy of Krishna, the devotees can clearly see the truth of the inconceivable oneness and difference. If we use material considerations to understand this, it becomes theoretical. We cannot use material considerations to understand this. When one achieves knowledge of these seven realities through self-realization by the strength of Amnaya, so total 8, 7 pramayas and 1 praman, Vedas, then it may be said that one has sambandha gyan, knowledge of one's relationship with the Lord. So all these 8 Dashamula Tattvas constitute sambandha gyan. So just think about it. Out of the 10, 8 deal with sambandha gyan. 9th is Abhidheya, Bhakti, to practice pure devotion. And 10th is Prayojan, goal. If you practice Abhidheya, you will attain the goal, Krishna Prem. So how much important it is to understand Sambandha Gyan, and that's why we are studying Sanatana Shiksha, because Sanatana Goswami is our Sambandha Acharya. In reply to Srila Sanatana Goswami's question, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has elaborately spoken on the science of one's relationship with the Lord. So now Bhaktivinoda Thakur is referring to Sanatana Shiksha. As given in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 102, Kiyami Kena Amaya Jare Tapatraya. Iha Nai Jani Kemena Hita Hoy. Who am I? Why do the threefold miseries always give me trouble? If I do not know this, how can I be benefited? So this is the reference which Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving. Those persons who want the greatest benefit in the form of achieving devotion to Krishna should all ask these questions to their spiritual master. By hearing the proper answers to these questions from the mouth of one's guru, all one's doubts will be cleared and firm faith will awaken. So going back to this article, in the beginning of the article, one who has faith has no doubts. It was mentioned, because doubt is a sign of intelligence. So by clearing all the doubts, the faith in Krishna, faith in the Vedas, faith in the process will increase. And then with that faith, when we practice, we'll attain the goal. Do not give up deliberations as useless. Oh, this achintya concept is very difficult to understand. It is achintya, inconceivable. Achintya means, I'll not do any chintan only about it. In the Gita, it is said, no, avyakto achintoyam avikaroyam uchate. So I'll not do any chintan only. No. One should deliberate on the subject from different angles and try to understand the subject. So that is why it is said one should be a Bahushuta and Dirghashuta. Bahushuta means Dirghashuta means one should hear Krishna Katha or talks from the spiritual master for long periods of time, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. We should spend quality time in just hearing Krishna Katha. This is Dirgha, means to hear for a long period of time. And today, as technology is advancing, it is becoming more and more difficult, because our concentration ability is going down because of too much our consciousness caught in the technological things of this world. So we should also be careful that we read books and directly in the presence of very exalted souls, sit in their feet and hear Krishna Katha. So deliberating on the subject matter, studying for a long time, and then studying that subject from different angles, that is very important. Bhaktivinoda Thakur quote, as stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Dhantavali Chit na kare alas, iha hai te Krishne lage sudrida manas. A sincere student should not neglect the discussion of such conclusions, considering them controversial. For such discussions strengthen the mind. Sudrida manas. Thus, one mind becomes attached to Krishna. Yahaite Krishna lage sudrida manas. You become attached to Krishna. Now see among 10 realities, the first 8 are related with the authority of one's relationship with the Lord. Sambandha Gyan. The first 8 are related with Sambandha Gyan. So here we finish discussing Dashamula Tattva, and within the Dashamula Tattva, we have only discussed the first 8 because first 8 are Sambandha. So now we'll go back to Sanatana Shiksha, and Sanatana Goswami has asked the questions, Mahaprabhu has appreciated, and Mahaprabhu is going to answer them now. So we just had taken a detour with the Dashamula Tattva. Now we are back to Sanatana Shiksha. But anyway, any questions or clarifications you have about the 8th Dashamula Tattva, you can ask. Yes, Virendra Yadav Prabhuji. I have unmuted you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dhanvat Pranam. Prabhu,
Yes.
there was one term, spiritual intelligence. If you can elaborate, what is that?
Okay. Yes. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in that article in Bhaktiyaloka gives definition of what is spiritual intelligence and material intelligence. That intelligence which is under the dictation of the mind and the senses, that is material intelligence. The senses see the sense objects, and mind is the center of the activities of the senses. So the senses tell the mind, I want that sense object. And the mind, ultimately, the intelligence is the one who decides. So the mind or the intelligence is controlled by the mind. So that intelligence which is subservient to the mind, it is material intelligence. But that intelligence which is subservient to the soul has its own intelligence. The soul has its own way of thinking. The soul has its spiritual eyes by which it can see. The soul has spiritual ears which can hear. So when one is awakened by by purification to self-realization, then the soul's intelligence awakens. And the passenger, if you remember in the chariot analogy, the charioteer is a person, his intelligence, the reins are the mind, and the horses are the senses. So actually the control of the chariot is to the passenger who's riding. He's the master of the chariot. But the horses see sense objects, the horses are going in that direction. The mind is pulled in that direction. The sarthi, the intelligence being weak, he's not able to hold the reins. So the chariot is moving in the direction of sense objects, and ultimately the passenger is wondering, where am I going? We all have experienced this. We are going somewhere, and then we see a billboard. Oh, let us go and have food in this restaurant. And the senses drag us. So material intelligence means that which is under the dictation of the mind. Spiritual intelligence means that which is under the dictation of the soul. So until we come to the transcendental platform, now the intelligence is corrupt. It is corrupted. So we have to spiritualize the subtle body, especially the mind and the intelligence, the subtle body. And how do we do? Now we don't come under the sway of the dictation of the senses and the mind, but we follow the instructions of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. So we lead a life based on Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. So then we slowly start spiritualizing our intelligence. And when the intelligence is completely, when the subtle body is completely pure, then the soul spiritual intelligence is awakened. So that is the difference between material intelligence and spiritual intelligence. I hope it is clear, Birendra Yadav Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay. So any other questions anyone has about this 8th? Now we are going back to Sanatana Shiksha. Before that, how many of you have gone through the Dashamula Tattva, these 8? Because now you all have to answer now. And Mahaprabhu is going to start replying. How many of you have gone through it? There's only one devotee. And we have discussed in the beginning how much important is Sanatana Shiksha for us. Without that Sambandh Gyan, we cannot make, any progress in our spiritual life. So please do go through it. Please go through the slides. Please try to study them. Please go through Chaitanya Charitamrita and try to get a clear understanding of it. So now let us go to Mahaprabhu's answer. So this is in 108 to 119. This is the next section in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Lord's energies and the Jiva's entanglement in Maya. So this is the answer to A1 and A2. A1 was Kiyami, Kya Moy, Tapatraya. Who am I and why am I suffering the threefold miseries? Kiyami, who am I? Mahaprabhu is answering. Jivara Swarupa hoy Krishnera Nityadas, Krishnera Tatastha Shakti, Bheda Bheda Prakash, Suramsha Kirane Ache Agni Jwala Chai, Swabhavik Krishnera Tina Prakara Shakti hoy. Mahaprabhu is answering. Kiyami, Jivara Swarupa hoy Krishnera Nityadas. It is the living entity's constitutional position to be the eternal servant of Krishna. Why? Krishnera Tatashta Shakti Bheda Bheda Prakash, because he is the marginal energy of Krishna and a manifestation simultaneously one and different from the Lord. Mahaprabhu is giving the example. Like a molecular particle of sunshine or fire. Suramsha Kirana Ache Agni Jwala Chai. Krishna has 3 varieties of energy. Swabhavika Krishnera Tina Prakara Shakti hoy. Now, tell me, among the 8 Dashamula Tattvas, which Dashamula Tattva answer is there in Mahaprabhu's reply? 1 or 2 or 3, whatever it is. Please take your time. It's not easy to answer. Take your time. And to make things for you simple, I will show you the Dashamula Tattva verses also. Or you want it in English? Yeah, here they are. So in this slide, there are 6 and then 7, 8. Better I show this verse. Okay. So think about it. And I'll show you now. Wait, this is 137. Please carefully look into this verse. Think about it carefully. And tell me which Dashamula Tattvas is Mahaprabhu speaking here. Only 2 devotees have studied the slides and only those of them have raised their hands. Okay, Reena Mataji. I have to unmute you or what? Yeah, I've unmuted you.
Hare Krishna.
If you want, I
Dandavat
will
Prabhuji.
show you the Dashamula Tattva verses.
Is it 7th Pramay? Achinta Vedavet Tattva?
Okay, Achinta Veda Vedva Tattva. Where is Achinta Veda Veda Tattva in the verse here? 1 minute.
The last.
Yeah.
The last paragraph, last line.
Which last line? Fourth line or second line or which?
Krishna teen. Actually, Prabhuji, can you show in also Hindi? The
There is no
shloka?
Hindi verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mataji. It is Bengali and English.
It's only 2 languages. मैंने अपने what you explained that just second. One मतलब ये simultaneously one with one and this is a lot. There's a word that the sentence simultaneously.
Achintya Veda Ved.
Yes, Achintya Veda Ved Tattva.
Yeah, Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. Okay. So that is which Dashamula Tattva?
This is a 8th Dashmul Tattva and 7th Prameya.
Correct. Excellent. Very good. And then any other Dashamula Tattva is here in the answer of Mahaprabhu?
I have to see. Living entities, constitutional position to be eternal servant of the Krishna, because it's a marginal energy of Krishna. Energy, matlab Lord's energy is second Prameya.
Okay. Virendra Yadav-Prabhuji, you have to say something.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, I think it's a fifth Prameya, Vivinna.
Yes, it is fifth Pramaya about the Jiva, the
Yes.
Jiva Tattva. So Jiva Tattva and Achinta Veda Veda Tattva. These two Dashamula Tattvas are discussed or are coming forth in this answer of Mahaprabhu. So Tad Bhinnamsha. The Jivas are what? Bhinnamsha. And Bheda Veda Prakasham. Sakalam api Hare. So the Jivas are his energies, and Mahaprabhu in his answer he's telling they are what kind of energy? Tatrashta Shakti, he's saying. And there is Bheda Veda, and then he's giving an example of Suryamsh Kiran and Jwalagni, and then Swabhavik. Krishna has 3 energies, and the Jiva is which energy? He is the marginal potency. So these are other additional details. But 5th Dashamula Tattva and the 8th Dashamula Tattva is there in the answer of Mahaprabhu. So now let us see from Bhakti Aloka, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whether he is also saying the same thing. But before that, we will go to the purport. I hope Reena Mataji, it's clear to you also and to all others. Is it clear to you, Mataji, that
Yes,
5th
yes,
and
yes, Prabhuji.
8th?
Yes,
And it
yes.
was a good try, we're very close. It was a good try.
Thank you.
So to all others, is this clear or no? Is this clear or no? 5th and 8th, the Dashamula Tattva is there in the answer of Chaitanya Charitamrita, verse 108, 109. Is it clear or no? You can raise your hands so that I know. Is it clear? Virendra Pradap, you have answered it, so you know. Yes, yes, okay. Fine. So now let us go to the purport. Prabhupada's purport is paragraph. He's quoting from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains these verses as follows. Shri Sanatana Goswami asked Sri Chaitanya, who am I? In answer, the Lord replied, you are a pure living entity. So this is Jiva Tattva. So this is the 5th Dashamula Tattva. You are neither the gross material body nor the subtle body composed of mind and intelligence. Actually, you are spirit soul, eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, Krishna. Jivera Swarupoe Krishnera Nityadas. Now, when you say Jivera Swarupoe Krishnera Nityadas, the Jiva is there, Jiva Tattva, and Krishna is there. And Krishna is what? Ishwar Tattva. So what is the relationship between the Jiva Tattva and the Ishwar Tattva? It is that of master and servant. Krishnera Nityadas. there is the master and the servant relationship. So then further the relation between both of them, there is Bheda Bhed Prakash. So that is also spoken. Therefore, you are his eternal servant. You belong to Krishna's marginal potency, Tatastha Shakti. There are two worlds, the spiritual and the material world, and you are situated between the material and spiritual potencies. Marginal means Tatastha. Tat means you are on the tat. You can be situated either in the material or in the spiritual, although you are spiritual potency of the Lord. You have a relationship with both the material and the spiritual world. Therefore, you are called marginal potency. I explained that. You are related with Krishna as one and simultaneously different. Beautifully, Prabhupada is bringing Bheda Bheda Prakash. So, what is the relationship between Ishwar and Jiva? Servant and master, and there is simultaneous oneness and difference. Because you are spirit soul, you are one in quality with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because you are very minute particle of spirit soul, you are different from the spirit soul. So this is proper standard example of the ocean and the drop of ocean. Qualitatively, the chemical analysis is the same. It has the same component, but quantitatively there is a difference. So the drop is simultaneously one and different from the ocean. Therefore, your position is simultaneously one with and different from the Supreme Soul. The examples given are those of sun itself and the small particles of sunshine, and of the blazing fire and the small particles of fire. Another explanation of these verses can be found in Adilila chapter 2, verse 96. Sorry, this should have not come here. So further explanation is given there. So this is how Mahaprabhu is answering, and two of the Dashamula Tattvas are there. Now again we go back to Dashamula Tattva, proofs for the fifth and eighth Dashamula Tattva. After Bhaktivinoda Thakur elaborates on the 10 Dashamula Tattvas, first 8 specifically, which we have seen now already, then he says, where is the proof? This proof is there in Mahaprabhu's teaching. And he says, fifth Tattva, the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regarding the constitutional position of the living entity is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 108, 109. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is quoting same verse, Jivara Swarupa Krishna Nitadas. Regarding simultaneous oneness and difference, 8th Tattva, Chaitanya Charitamrita, same, 108. Krishnera Tatastha Shakti, Bheda Bheda Prakash. So the 8th Tattva is there in this line of that verse. Now, Mahaprabhu in his answer had given, Suryamsha Kiran and Jala Agni. So now he gives a reference, quoting from the Shastra, where it is, he's substantiating his statement. Eka desha sthitasyagне jyotsna vistarini yatha harasya brahmana shakti tatedam akhilam jagat. Just as the illumination of fire, which is situated in one place, is spread all over, the energies of the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of God, Parabrahman, are spread all over the universe. Prabhupada says this is a quotation from Vishnu Puran. Fire is at one place, but it expands or spreads in the form of heat and light. So heat is the energy of fire. It is, qualitatively one with fire, but it is different also. You can sustain the heat and you can feel the warmth, the heat. But if you want to go near fire and touch fire, then you'll burn. So, and light also you can see. So like that, there is the Shaktiman, who is like the fire, and heat and light are the Shaktis. So there is no question of Shaktiman without Shaktis. So when there is a fire, there has to be heat and light. And there is no separate existence of the heat and light without fire. So in one sense, heat and light are simultaneously one with fire, at the same time different. So Mahaprabhu is quoting a rough verse from the Vishnu Puran to substantiate his answer. Okay, now any questions regarding this? Now we next go to the next section, the Sanatana Shiksha. Any questions, any clarifications here? I hope you're able to go through the flow, although we are going back and forth with the Shamula Tattva. I hope there is no confusion also for you all. Any questions regarding the answer of Mahaprabhu? Yami, who am I? Who am I is now answered by Mahaprabhu. And within that, there is the fifth and the eighth Dashamula Tattva. Any doubts, any clarifications anyone has up till now? Okay, so let's go ahead. Now verses 108 to 119, the Lord's energies and the Jiva's entanglement in Maya. So still Mahaprabhu is answering, why the Jiva is suffering. So first the Lord is going to give his energies and how this Jiva Shakti is now entangled in the Maya Shakti. So now within this 108 to 119, 109b to 113, the Lord's energies are discussed. The Lord's energies are being discussed. So let us see them. No, 1 second, there is some mistake which has happened. Give me a second. There is some slight. Oh, one verse itself has skipped out. I'll have to refer the Veda base because somehow while cutting and pasting, one verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita somehow has missed out. So that is why I'll have to refer directly from the Veda base. A minute, please. 109. 111 got missing. 11 got missing and okay. Now I can. Okay. Yeah, somehow while cutting and pasting, one verse just slipped off. I'm sharing the screen. We have, I'll just go back just so that you're in the flow. 108, 109, these two verses, Jiveras Sarupa Krishna Nityadas, the fifth and the eighth Dashamula Tattva we saw, and then we saw the proof, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's proof, and then there is one verse which is a reference to show how the Supreme Lord, heat, Suryamsha Kiran and Jwalagni was given, and how there is Shakti and Shaktiman. So Vishnu Puran verse is quoted. Now after 110, then as I mentioned, 109B onwards. 110 is a reference, B onwards, and this Lord energies. Because here, please very carefully note that Swabhaviki Krishnera Teen Prakara Shakti Hai, yes said. Correct? This is in 109. 110 is just a reference to substantiate this Agni Jwala Chai. There is Shakti and Shaktiman. So that is 110. Now that three Shaktis, Mahaprabhu's answering or he's explaining in text 1111. Krishnera Swabhaviki Tina Shakti Paraniti Chit Shakti Jiva Shakti Aramaya Shakti. Lord Krishna naturally has three energetic transformations, and these are known as the spiritual potency, the living entity potency, and the illusionary potency. So we are quite familiar with these three principal potencies: the internal energy, the marginal energy, and the external energy, or what is called as the Antaranga Shakti, Bhairanga Shakti, and the Tatastha Shakti. Now, it's not that the Lord only has these three energies. They are the principal three, and within them there are unlimited, the Lord has unlimited potencies, unlimited energies, but they are classified into principally these three: Antaranga Shakti, Bhairanga Shakti, and the Tatastha Shakti. Now, I will not ask this because it is really difficult to figure out, but anyway, you had seen the slide before. So among the Dashamula Tattva, proof for the third Dashamula Tattva is here. That Krishna is what? Sarva Shaktiman. Regarding Krishna's energies, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Swabhava Tina Shakti Pariniti Chit Shakti Ar Shakti. So this verse 111 in Sanatana Shiksha answers. This will be a little easy for you all to know, but from Dashamula Tattva, which Dashamula Tattva and where it is mentioned here in this verse? Who will answer this? Who will answer this? Krishna Swabhavika Teen Shakti Pariniti. Chit Shakti, Jiva Shakti or Maya Shakti was mentioned. Na? So among this, composition of Dashamula Tattva verse by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which one it is referring here? Who will answer this? Partha Sarthi Prabhu? Are you there?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Which one? Which one? Lot of disturbance backside. That's why I think you're not able to concentrate here.
No, Prabhuji. But here, proclaim absolute truth, Sri Hari, the supreme possessor of all potencies of rasa and motion.
I've already answered the question to you. I'm just asking which line or which in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's composition, which Dashamula Tattva we are speaking about. Okay, Hemant Kumar.
Jivan Prakriti Kavalitan.
No. Yes, Hemant Kumar, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, is it Krishna is omnipotent? The verse 3.
Where it is mentioned as omnipotent, where it is mentioned, I don't see anything. I don't see the word omnipotent here at all. Where did you see it?
No, I'm just referring that English translation of that.
Where it is here? It is not mentioned here. The English also it is not mentioned.
No, I was referring that the 10 points that you have mentioned earlier in the previous slides,
10
one by
points.
one.
1 minute. Okay. Krishna
Yeah.
is omnipotent. Okay. Sarva Shaktiman. I just wanted this answer. He possesses
Sarvashaktiman.
all potencies. So here that potencies are there. Jiva Shakti, Maya Shakti and Chit Shakti.
Chit Shakti.
So this is the answer. So this is the third Dashamula Tattva which is there in this verse. This verse is third Dashamula Tattva. So now we are mapping the Dashamula Tattva in the Sanatana Shiksha. So now that's why I said proof for the third Dashamula Tattva. Mahaprabhu Bhaktivinoda Thakur is mentioning now. So now these three energies, which I think I'll have to mute you all, otherwise there is always disturbance. Now Mahaprabhu has spoken about these three energies. Now he's Kaviraj Goswami or Mahaprabhu are giving references from the Shastra. Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta Kshetra Gakhya Tata Para Avidya Karma Samgyaya Tritiya Shakti Rishyate. Originally, Krishna's energy is spiritual. Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta. And the energy known as the living entity is also spiritual. Kshetragya Kya Tata Para. The Kshetragya, that is Jiva, is also Parashakti. However, there is another energy called illusion, avidya karma sangyaya, tritiya shakti rishyate, which consists of fruitive activity. This is the Lord's third potency, tritiya shakti, where because of avidya, he is engaged in karma. Prabhupada says this is the quotation from the Vishnu Puran. For a further explanation of this verse, refer Adi Lila, chapter 7, verse 119. Now he gives the second reference here. Shaktaya sarva bhavanam achintya jnana gocharaha yato to brahmanastastu sargadya bhava shaktaya bhavanti tapatam shreshta bhavakasya yatotsnata. All the creative energies which are inconceivable to common man exist in the Supreme Absolute Truth. Achintya Jnana Gochara, Shaktya Sarva Bhavana. These inconceivable energies act in the process of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. Sargadhya, Bhava Shaktaya. O chief of the ascetics. Just as there are two energies possessed by fire, namely heat and light, these inconceivable creative energies are the natural characteristics of absolute truth. Pavakasya yatotsana. Just like Pavaka, fire, has heat and light. Similarly, the absolute truth has energies. Now again, this is a quotation from the Vishnu Puran. Now we have gone up till verses 1:13 in Chaitanya Charitamrita. 1:14 to 16, the Jiva's characteristics are mentioned. What are the characteristics of the Jiva? We are still discussing 108 to 119, that is the Lord's energies and the Jiva's entanglement in Maya. Within that, there are these subtitles, you can say. Yata Kshetragya Shakti Sa Veshtita Nripasarvaga Samsara Tapanakilan Avapnoti Atra Santatan. O King, Nripa, the Kshetragya Shakti is the living entity. Kshetragya Shakti Sa. Although he has the facility to live in either the material or the spiritual world, Vishishtata Sarvaga, he suffers the threefold miseries of material existence because he is influenced by the avidya potency. Samsara Tapana Akhila Avapnoti Atra Santatan, which covers his constitutional position. Because of the avidya potency, he is covered. So again, this is from the Vishnu Puran. Prabhupada says for explanation, see Madhya Lila, chapter 6, verse 155, 156. Now he gives a second reference of the of the jiva which is now caught in Maya. Because Mahaprabhu is building his argument based on Shastra to answer Sanatana Goswami's second question. Why am I suffering in this world? Because now you're come under the grip of the avidya potency or the Maya potency. That is why you're suffering. So the verses are first being quoted. This living entity, no, I did not recite this verse. Taya tirohitatvat Shakti Kshetragya Samyata Sarvabhuteshu Bhupala Taratamyena Vartate. This living entity, covered by the influence of science, exists in different forms in the material condition. O king, he is thus proportionately freed from the influence of the material energy to greater or lesser degrees. When the living entity is in the higher realms, he is less influenced by the material energy. When he is in the middle realm, like the earthly realm, he is partially influenced by the material energy. When he is in the lower planetary systems, he is fully under the grip of the material energy. Taratamena. Now, this is the Jiva Shakti quoted. This is Bhagavad Gita 7.5, Jiva Shakti. Aparayam midastu anyam prakritim vidyam me param jiva bhutam mahabhavo yedam dharate jagat. Besides these inferior energies, which was quoted in 7.4, O mighty armed Arjuna, Mahabhavo, there is another superior energy of mind. Jiva Bhutam. The Jiva, Bhutam is plural. There are unlimited living entities who are conditioned. It is Prakritim Vidyam Me Paran. It is superior to the material energy, who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. Yedam Dharete Jagat. So the Jiva is entangled in this prison of material world. He's trying to exploit the resources of material nature, but he's getting more entangled. And he thinks that he is running this material world. Just like, Yedam Dharete Jagat means, just like a prisoner is in the prison house shackled, but he thinks he is running the prison house. So we are all shackled by the three modes of material nature, and we think we are running this material world. So how foolish it is, This is the verse from the Bhagavad Gita. For an explanation, see Adi Leela, chapter 7, verse 118. Prabhupada, wherever he has given explanation previously in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada says just directly refer there. That's it. So Mahaprabhu is building his argument to answer the second question. Remember that why am I suffering? The Jiva. Krishna boli se Jiva anadi bahirmukh ataiva maya tare deha samsara dukh. Forgetting Krishna boli, the living entity has been attracted by the external feature from time in the Jiva anadi bahirmukh. Therefore, the illusionary energy Maya, Ataiva Maya Tare, De Samsara gives him all kinds of misery in his material existence. So, why am I suffering? Because I have forgotten my relationship with Krishna. This is the root cause. Because I have forgotten my relationship with Krishna, I have come in this material world to enjoy. And the more I try to enjoy, the more I come under the grip of the material energy and the more I suffer. So this material world is designed to give us suffering. And you might, think why it is so. Because otherwise, if we don't question our suffering, then we'll forever rot in this material world. So in order to awaken that inquiry, because ultimately we are part and parcel of Krishna and we want to go back to Krishna and enjoy spiritual bliss. So that is why Dukkhalayam Shashvatam. This material world is alaya, abode of dukkha. It is designed like that, and it is temporary. So now Mahaprabhu is answering. The Jiva is the Tatastha Shakti, and the Jiva's characteristics are that it is under the influence of avidya. It is, it is, to some degrees, depending on whether he is in goodness, passion, and ignorance, to that degree, he is covered by Maya. And the Jiva is suffering in this material world because he has forgotten his relationship with Krishna. Prabhupada's purport is very classic. When the living entity forgets his constitutional position as the eternal servant of Krishna, he is immediately entrapped by the illusionary external energy. Jiva Swarupa Krishna Randistas. So when you forget this, immediately you come under the grip of Maya, Maya's energy. The living entity is originally part and parcel of Krishna and is therefore the superior energy of Krishna. He is endowed with inconceivable minute energy that works inconceivable within the body. Prabhupada is using this word inconceivable twice. The Jiva is inconceivable minute energy, and how it is working within the body is also inconceivable to us. However, the living entity, forgetting his position, is situated in the material energy. Having forgotten his position, Jivera Swarupa, now he is situated in the Maya Shakti or the Bhairanga Shakti. The living entity is called the marginal energy because by nature he is spiritual, but by forgetfulness he is situated in the material. Thus, he has the power to live either in the material energy or in the spiritual energy, and for this reason he is called the marginal energy. Being in the marginal position, he is sometimes attracted. Sometimes attracted by the external illusionary, and this is the beginning of his material life. When he enters a material energy, he is subjected to the threefold time measurement, past, present, and future. Not only threefold time measurement, but threefold miseries also. Past, present, and future belong only to the material world. They do not in the spiritual. Thakur also spoke about spiritual time and material time. The living entity is eternal, and he existed before the creation of the material world. Unfortunately, he has forgotten his relationship with Krishna. Divinity forgetfulness is described herein as anadi, which indicates that it has existed since time immemorial. One should understand that due to his desire to enjoy himself in competition with Krishna, the living entity comes into this material world. This is the root cause of our fall down. We wanted to become the enjoyer like Krishna, due to his desire to enjoy himself in competition with Krishna. Kabu swarge uthaye, kabu narake dubaya, dhande jane raja ena nadite chubaya. The material condition, the living entity is sometimes raised to higher planet systems and material prosperity, and sometimes drowned in the hellish situation. His state is exactly that of a criminal whom a king punishes by submerging him in water and then raising him again from the water. So Prabhupada very classically explains what is happiness. The cessation of misery is called as happiness, he says. That means when a prisoner is taken and he's caught by his neck and drowned in the sea or the ocean, he's gasping for breath, he's going through trouble. Immediately for some time, almost when he's about to leave his body, the one who's holding his neck, the superintendent or the police, he lifts him up. He's gasping for breath. He feels sudden relief and he thinks this is happiness. Immediately after some time, again he's pushed into the his neck is pushed under the water. So Prabhupada is saying that this temporary cessation of misery is called as happiness. So Mahaprabhu is explaining the same. Sometimes he's in Swarga, sometimes Narga. Like that, he's going up and down. In the Brahad Aranyaka Upanishad, it is stated, Asango hi ayam purusha. The living entity is always free from the contamination of the material world. One who is not materially infected, who does not forget Krishna as his master, is called Nityamukta. So the definition of Nityamukta is he's not materially infected and he doesn't forget Krishna even for a moment. Even for a moment, he doesn't forget Krishna. In other words, one who is eternally liberated from material contamination is Nityamukta. From time immemorial, the Nityamukta living entity has been a devotee of Krishna, and his only attempt has been to serve Krishna. Thus, he never forgets his eternal servitorship to Krishna. Any living entity who forgets his eternal relationship with Krishna is under the sway of the material condition. Bereft of the Lord's transcendental loving service, he is, every time this camera, subjected to the reactions of fruitive activity. When he is elevated to higher planetary systems due to his worldly pious activities, he considers himself well situated. But when he is subjected to punishment, he thinks himself improperly situated. Thus, material nature awards and punishes the living entity. When the living entity is materially opulent, material nature is rewarding him. When he is materially embarrassed, material nature is punishing him. So this is how Mahaprabhu is bringing thought flow. I'll just take, so one verse I will take and then take the question. So now to substantiate this, one verse from the Bhagavatam is quoted. Bhayam dvitiyabi niveshatasyat ishad apetasya viprayo smritihi tanmayayato buddha abhajetam bhaktya keshayam gurudevatma. When the living entity is attracted by the material energy, Dvitiya abhiniveshata swa, which is separate from Krishna, he is overpowered by fear, bhayam. Because he is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the material nature, his conception of life is reversed. Viparayo spriti ishadapetasya. In other words, instead of being the eternal servant of Krishna, he becomes Krishna's competitor. This is called Viparayo Smriti. To nullify this mistake, one who is actually learned and advanced worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his spiritual master, worshipable deity, and source of life. He thus worships the Lord by the process of unalloyed devotional service. Guru Devatma Bhakti Ek Esham. That is unalloyed devotion. So the classic example is given of the child who wants to watch the horror movie. He has a desire to watch the horror movie. And he sits in front of the TV screen, and when the horror movie starts, he becomes really fearful. So because his consciousness is caught in the TV screen and he's going through this horror movie scenes and he's becoming fearful. But if he realizes that next to him is his mother, he can have a very loving reciprocation with his mother. But because of the desire to see the horror movie, now his consciousness is locked in the TV screen and he's going through these fearful experiences. Similarly, the jiva has a loving relationship with the super soul who is sitting next to him in the heart. But because of the desire to enjoy, he is now caught in the material energy. His consciousness is caught in the avidya potency of the Lord, and he is going through all different kinds of fears. So this is the verse which is being quoted by Mahaprabhu and Kaviraj. This is the quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam. It is an instruction given by Kavi Rishi, one of the 9 saintly personalities called as the Navayogandharas. When Vasudev, Krishna's father, asked Devarishi Narad in Dwarka about devotional service, it was mentioned that previously King Nimi, who was the king of Videha, was instructed by the 9 Yogendras. When Narad Muni discoursed on Bhagavad Dharma, devotional service, he indicated how a conditioned soul can be liberated by engaging in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So this verse is quoted by Narad Muni. The Lord is the super soul, spiritual master, and the worshipable deity of all conditioned souls. Sorry. Not only is Krishna the supreme worshipable deity of all living entities, but he is also the Guru or the Chaitya Guru, the super soul, who always gives living entity good counsel. Unfortunately, the living entity neglects the Supreme Person's instructions. He thus identifies with the material energy and is consequently overpowered by a kind of fear resulting from accepting himself as a material body and considering paraphernalia related to the material body to be his property. Yasyatma kunupeti tridhatuke. Dehatma buddhi. All types of fruitive results actually come from the spirit soul, but because he has forgotten his real duty, he is embarrassed by many material consequences such as fear and attachment. The only remedy is to revert to the service of the Lord and thus be saved from material nature's unwanted harassment. So this is, we finished this section. I wanted to finish. Now Mahaprabhu is going to answer sadhana and sadhya, and that time we will see which of the Dashamula Tattvas Mahaprabhu is further going to mention in his answers. So there is one question by Parth Sarthi Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji. Prabhuji, here it was written that because of Maya Devi, Jiva does fruitive activity. So if the Jiva is trying for mukti, it has desire for mukti. This desire is not, Maya Devi is not responsible for the Jiva having desire for mukti, because Maya Devi only makes a Jiva Maya Devi only makes Jiva do fruitive activity, which is mukti. So mukti is different, right? So so Maya Devi is not responsible for the Jiva to desire for mukti and to
No, it is
reach.
the Jiva. First is the Jiva's desire, the Lord's sanction, and the Lord through the material nature. Material nature facilitates it. So there are these 3 doers. You'll have to go back to Bhagavad Gita and understand this concept very clearly. There is the Jiva who desires, and there is the material nature which facilitates. The material nature, Prakriti, will facilitate only because of the sanction of the super soul. Because the super soul is the control of the material nature. The Jiva on its own cannot fulfill his desire until material nature, is supports him. So there are these 3 different doers. So you have to clearly understand that. It is the Jiva who desires mukti, and when he takes up that desire, and he will pursue a path like the Ashtanga Yoga, the Jnana Yoga, to attain liberation. Then is it clear, Prabhuji?
So Maya Devi doesn't have any role in that Jiva's propensity?
No. It is the Jiva himself. Until the Jiva also desires, see,
Jiva
you might be uh, uh, preached by your own family members to take up devotional service. They might be inspiring you. But until unless you take the initiative, yes, I would like to take up to devotional service. Till then, nobody can do anything about it. You might be getting some favorable impressions, but until you desire that I also want to perform devotional service, that's why devotional service cannot be a forced thing. It is, it has to come naturally and spontaneously by the jiva's, desire to actually perform devotional service. So that's why that free will is always there with the jiva. So when you utilize it properly according to Guru Sadhu Shastra, then it will lead to real happiness. When you misutilize it, then it will lead to misery.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Any other questions or clarifications? Yeah, Birendra Yadav Prabhuji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhu, just wanted to understand how Lord as Chaitya Guru, he directs living entity. How can we understand this?
What is the exact question? I could not clearly hear you. Can you repeat your question? Haribol?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhu, is this verse 119 purport? There is one line where it is said that Lord as a Chaitya Guru, he guides the living entity. How do we understand this? Lord is guiding us as a Chaitya Guru.
Oh, as the Chaitya Guru, how is he guiding us is very difficult to understand until we are very pure. So it is said, Tesham Satate Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenamam Upayantite. Tesham Evanukampartam Aham Majnanajam Tama Nashami Atma Bhavasto Jnana Deepena Bhasuta. So directly we cannot have communion with the Chaitya Guru. So that's why the Chaitya Guru who is there within manifest in front of us without externally in the form of the spiritual master. So in fact, the spiritual master is in one sense the voice of the super soul. So following the instructions of the spiritual master is like following the Chaitya Guru for us, because we cannot understand how the Chaitya Guru is working. And we saw that in the Sanatana Shiksha, Mahaprabhu is saying that Krishna has been very merciful and he has. So it was the Chaitya Guru whom directed Sanatana Goswami to come out of the Nawab's entanglement. It was the Chaitya Guru who indicated that better to give all the 7 gold coins to this person, otherwise he'll kill me. So like that, very advanced souls can understand and communicate directly with the Chaitya Guru. And for sadhakas, it is through the instructions of the spiritual master. Is it clear, Guruji? Hare Krishna. Is it clear, Prabhuji, for you?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we will stop here. Tomorrow we'll continue now the discussion. We have now in Mahaprabhu's Sanatana Shiksha covered 3 of the Dashamula Tattvas. These are not in sequence in Sanatana Shiksha you're seeing. Some of the Dashamula Tattvas will come in chapter 22 also. So, but now we are in the flow of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which will go on, and wherever Dashamula Tattva will come, we will try to show where we'll do that comparative study. So I know this is a little taxing, going back and forth, but as you study it, then it becomes more relishable, and you will like it also. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Kaviraj Das Goswami ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki